but I want to talk about A&M, and not because like it's fun to pile on. Like we're on this text thread just to paint a picture of everybody, and it's like everybody in the field of 12. And on Saturdays, it's bonkers. It's a thread of, I don't know, 200 messages from like the beginning of games until the evening. And one of my favorite parts, fellas, is like late at night, I'm in a hotel after a late game, and I'm like, all right, what went on today with these guys? And there's a lot of dialogue around A&M on that thread. Um, what do we think? Like, like they were the kings of college football to a degree, right? They didn't win the Natty, but they beat Bama. They had Jimbo coming back. They signed a great class. Like, ton was made around the dialogue with Nick Saban and of course A&M's head coach Jimbo Fisher. Just curious, Clint. Like, what do we think about where A&M is today?
Well, I think it's a crying ass shame, if I'm being honest. I mean, you're talking about one of the, for lack of better terms, wealthiest programs in America. When you talk about the head coach making money, the facilities, the NIL opportunities to not ruffle any feathers, take that for what it's worth. The monies, they call it maroon money up there. You know, I mean, it's a crying ass shame that you're not putting a better product on the field. But me personally, they are exactly who I thought they were. They went out there last year and they finished 8-4. I thought a lot of people piled on Zach Calzada. He was the same quarterback that was good enough to beat Alabama and be one of the main reasons that they did beat Alabama. But he wasn't a good enough quarterback for A&M. And all the while, you got to look at what they're doing on a couple of different fronts. I think when you look at Jimbo Fisher, first and foremost, he's an offensive-minded head coach that's supposed to be a quarterback developer and really a developer of talent across the board. And I think if you look at don't look at what they tell you, don't look at what the recruiting boards will say, but look at things like the quarterback room, the quarterback play. Last year, Calzada wasn't enough. Haynes King was supposed to be the guy. He got injured. Right now, Haynes King ain't the guy because he hadn't been good enough. At some point in time, we got to point the fingers back at an offensive-minded head coach. Damian Craig is the quarterback coach for this football team. He's a former wide receiver. I mean, an old-school quarterback that's been coaching wide receivers, guys. I mean, this is Jimbo Fisher's responsibility. And the fact of the matter is their quarterbacks have not played well since Kellen Mond left. And if we're talking about overall development, I would say that you look at their senior class last year coming out in the draft, for the most part, they were all disappointments when it came down to performing at the combine and working out and being drafted. I just question what's going on in College Station from a development perspective, and particularly on the offensive side of the football. What is Jimbo Fisher doing offensively? App State was significantly better at the quarterback position and significantly better at the play calling and scheming that was going on the offensive side of the football. And that should not be the case when we're talking about Jimbo Fisher, College Station, and the Texas A&M Aggies.
I ain't gonna disagree. Hack, what's your take on it, and where do you see them right now in the world of college football, let alone their respective division?
Yeah, I think it's been disappointing for sure. I mean, I think you could argue they might be the most talented team in the West with Alabama in there as well. I mean, you just, in terms of, what people say, recruiting rankings, for whatever that's worth. Right. But they're playing like a team that's in that, since I'm a pod guy, I'm going to say it, Dagan and them will laugh, the bottom pod of the SEC West. I mean, it's them, LSU, and maybe those two teams at the bottom right now, in my opinion, in terms of what they've done. And then obviously some historical data, Yogi, with the other guys. Yeah. But yeah, to Clint's point, it's a shame that program has no excuse for not being where they need to be. I don't know if it's a scheme standpoint. I don't know what it is. But to your point, Clint, you shouldn't be out schemed by App State. And even if you're out schemed, you shouldn't be out Jimmy'd and Joe'd to a degree. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be able to find the matchup still. And even if you got to dumb it down, play simple, play the stuff you can execute. They didn't even do that well. So you can't do that. That's tough. And I think they're at a crossroads at that program for sure.
Hey, Yogi, I got a question for you, Yogi, on that front real quick, man, because this has always bothered me about Jimbo Fisher. And this is one of those things that why I'm a big product guy. I watched Jimbo Fisher last year grab Zach Calzada coming off the field and grab Anais Smith coming off the field. His go-to receiver and his quarterback that he's riding. He's his starter. And there was clear confusion on just basic offensive football to where they were all three frustrated. And Jimbo Fisher's flustering, throwing his paper everywhere, got his glasses falling off his damn head and all that, right? That tells me that this offensive unit, the main two players, the quarterback and the go-to receiver, are not on the same page to a point, not every now and then, to a point where the head coach is clearly losing his mind. Guess what I saw in the first half against Appalachian State? A receiver on just a basic bubble screen doesn't block the most dangerous man, and it gets blown up for a loss, I think. And that's fine. Kids make mistakes. Yogi, to your point, make mistakes. But Jimbo Fisher comes running on the field to the point where I'm like, damn, what was that flash? Like, what is Jimbo doing? Right? And he's yelling at a receiver again. And I'm just going, that was a basic bubble screen, man. That's basic. Hey, get the most dangerous man. Look up, and whatever jersey's close to you that's a different color, block that son of a gun, right? When you're messing up that kind of stuff and your head coach is an offensive-minded head coach, Yogi, to me, that tells me that what's going on Monday to Friday ain't right. It's not just what's going on Saturday. I'm curious, you as an instructor, as a former coach, and your experience in the game, when you see a head coach doing that, what is that? Or a coach? When you see a coach doing that, what does that tell you?
Yeah. I want to be thoughtful, like really thoughtful in my answer, because a major pet peeve of me as an analyst is that I think a lot of analysts give like hard takes when they don't know the environment. So I'm just going to state, like, I don't know the environment. I don't talk to people at A&M every day. It's not like I am out here on the West Coast with these programs. But I will say this, and I learned this as a very young coach, to your point, at USC from Coach Carroll, by the way. Go Hawks. Great win last night. Love that. He would often say, Yogi, you have 5 seconds after one of your quarterbacks or a player makes a mistake. Within those 5 seconds, you can make them feel like they screwed up, or you can teach them. And whatever you choose to say is going to have a massive impact, and not just that moment, but the trajectory of the learning of that individual. So the phrase we'd often use is learn your learner. Like, how did these guys learn? Are they auditory? Are they kinesthetic? They like hard coaching? Do they need soft coaching? Do they be pulled aside? You can't just ride with however it is you approach fixing mistakes with everybody. That's my premise. With that, I wholeheartedly believe that every player, specifically the quarterback, reflect the demeanor of the head coach. When I call games every weekend, I ask the same question to the same 3 groups of people. The head coach, what's the program's philosophy? Coordinators, what's the program philosophy? And the players they put in the room in the production meetings, what's the program's philosophy? And if there is any deviation of all from the consistency of an answer, that team will lose. I'm about 95%, I predict the games based on that. You can tell. And my point is that when I saw what you referenced, and as I've seen it over the years, what comes to mind is, man, like he is coaching his way. And I see it with Elite 11, because I'm seeing these 16-year-olds, as you guys know, every year. The way they're learning is different, right? So that means maybe you have to eliminate the 10 clusters of words, right? And all those papers, like Stanford did that. We watched their game over the weekend. They're running the slow mesh now, for crying out loud. They're on up tempo. They don't have play calls as we've become accustomed to them with so much at the line of scrimmage. Like what is the teacher asking the players to learn? And then how are they course correcting? Because it is a different environment, whether you like it or you think it's soft or whatever. Like, the reality is athletes are learning differently. And what I've noticed from him is that his way has had success, very fair. But I wonder if you asked his trusted assistants, guys that have been with him at multiple places, like, hey, how has he adjusted? Saban's adjusted, right? Tom Coughlin is the most famous adjuster of all time. Like, how has he adjusted as a teacher? That would be the question I would ask. I don't know if he has or he hasn't. I'm sure he's developed. Like, he's not he's a smart coach. Obviously, he's had great success. But that's my question, right? As a guy on the outside looking in who knows the game, like, how has he had to adjust as a teacher? Because you're seeing the players on their heels, And I'm a fan of players like on their toes and leaning in a little bit. And I'm curious, like this is a critical moment for them. High stakes environment against Miami. I don't know how the hell they're still ranked after that loss. No disrespect to App State, but again, it's just based on historicals. Then a top 10 Arkansas team, both at home. And then they go face the air raid and Mike Leach. So I'm probably most curious with this team out of anybody in the country, man. Anyway, Hack, am I crazy? You're the most recent player on this call.
No, I mean, I'm on board with you. But I was also kind of an old school guy. You knew me. Whatever could happen. But I do agree with you. I mean, I think that there's ways to touch a player in a different manner than you would have to do with another guy in terms of getting them to do what you want them to do and how they need to do it. Yeah.
And look, we also everybody's going to overreact to this game because it's 100%. Week 2, right? And they were missing a bunch of key players. And look, I'll say this: I loved what the Sun Belt did. And I'll get off my high horse here in a second, fellas. But I don't care how much money you have in your collective, how many water slides you have at your facility, you still got to play 120 by 53 and a third. And you got to play hard. You got to play with great effort. Washington State shut out Wisconsin in the second half, right? The Sun Belt did what the Sun Belt did. That's why we love the game. None of that other crap matters. It's cool. Maybe we'll get you a better player, but you got to play the ultimate team game. And I think that was a great reminder for all of us in college football as we saw those upsets happen. So.
Hey, I'll tell you, I'm still on this A&M kick, bro. My wheels are spinning, man.
Roll, baby, roll. Let it go.
Well, no, I mean, I can't. I go back and Hack. Well, I mean, I go back and I watch. I watched the first half of the A&M game opening week, and Haynes King is dropping back, and it's just bombs away, and 4 of the 6 balls he threw in the first half, one of them was a touchdown. 4 of the 6 were ill-advised throws. Mm-hmm. And Jimbo Fisher coming in at halftime is like, oh, he's throwing it well, man. He's throwing it great, man. He's doing exactly what we wanted to do. He just maybe got a little bit carried away, didn't see the safety on that. No, man. I mean, he is careless with the football. He almost broke his leg carrying the ball one time because he didn't protect himself sliding. That's the kind of thing to me that when I hear that, I guarantee you this. If they make a switch to Max Johnson or if Haynes King comes around, you will see a completely different approach from the quarterback than we've seen these first 2 weeks. It's going to be a guy that's getting the ball out extremely quick, a guy that's working low to high, and he's not throwing a bunch of balls up into double coverage. He's not throwing a bunch of low percentage balls down the field in critical moments. The change is going to be something that we all saw that was very obvious. When I watch it, I just go, this is not a well-coached football team. It's not
I got a question for you.
It's not a well-coached offense.
So you've seen every snap of them, and I love that dialogue. We got the Big Ten cover, the SEC, and out west here. But with that said, and I talked to David Shaw about this heading into the season because they took their program last year basically down to the studs and said, okay, we're kind of carrying some stuff that worked with Tyler Gaffney, that worked with Stephen Taylor, that worked with Christian McCaffrey. Stuff just kind of kept bleeding in. And they looked at their call sheet and the offensive playbook, and Coach Shaw and his staff were like, we don't really need that. That doesn't really work with the personnel we have. Do you see that at A&M of them just carrying stuff that you saw at Florida State that was phenomenal with Jameis in a title run, but has not worked with Haynes King?
Well, it's hard to really tell exactly from a quarterback's perspective because the offensive line is so porous. The offensive line is unbelievable. They are struggling in a major way. They can't run the football. They can't protect the quarterback at all. But that even goes more to quit talking about taking deep shots. Quit talking about stretching the field vertically. Figure out creative ways to get your athletes touches and catches or carries in the open field from sideline to sideline. The craziest thing in college football, in my opinion right now, it's one of the biggest changes from my era to today, is that every college coach that's worth a damn, they are masterful at stretching the field sideline to sideline. Absolutely the best. I mean, that's the biggest difference. And the great ones absolutely crush it right now. A&M doesn't do it. They don't do it. They don't. I mean, week in, week out, other teams do it better than them, and it's why their offensive product is struggling. And so, anyway, man, I don't know what the answer is, because the offensive line is struggling so bad, but there's been no adjustments. We see football teams in the NFL and in college with poor offensive line play overcome it with great scheme, great play callers, and great athletes. And A&M can't figure any of that out. Even they don't even attempt to do it. So I don't know what the answer is schematically, but I know a $9 million offensive minded head coach ought to be able to figure that shit out.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is that just kind of starting where we began, Hack. They're playing Miami, who's ranked 13th. They went 7-5 last year, bring in Mario Cristobal and beat Bethune, Cookman, and Southern Miss. Like, I just think it's like I'm a big Mario guy. Like he's been amazing to me. I hope he gets that thing rolling. I hope they win this weekend. But I just think you kind of look at that and you're like 13 versus 24.
It's the U. And,
you know,
and it's the U. They're getting the benefit of the 90s.
What's going on, guys? Rob Doster here, the founder of the Field of 68 and the Field of 12 Media Networks. I wanted to take a quick minute to let you guys know about an exciting new project that we have been working on for the last 3 months. The Almanac, an all-encompassing preview of the 2022-23 college basketball season. We spoke with every single Division I head coach to give you a robust and accurate preview for all 363 Division I college basketball teams. We have predictions for conference finishes for all 32 leagues. We have features on the best freshmen, the best big men, the breakout stars, the coaches on the hot seat, so much more. It is 600,000 words of sheer happiness for the college basketball fan in your life. The Almanac is going to be available for digital purchase on September 26th for just $19.99, but you can pre-order it today using the promo code HOOPS and save 20%. Just hit the link in the description below.